First things first, Mike, how are you?
Yeah, very good. Thanks, mate. How you doing?
I'm not too bad at all. Thanks for asking. So, before we get into the new album, I'd like to jump back a little bit because what I found interesting, I read something where either you said it or somebody else of the band said it, but it took you a year to kind of find your sound after you met. What did that year look like?
Yeah, so I was kind of writing tracks to try and figure out what sort of sound I wanted. So going slightly on the heavier side, and then kind of over time going towards more stuff I was inspired by, like late '90s, early 2000s, new metal kind of era. But then also really excited by the scene coming out of Australia as well, kind of new metalcore with like North
Mm.
Lane and Alpha Wolf, things like that. So yeah, just kind of taking those influences and experimenting, and then getting down. And I was writing tracks personally myself before meeting the guys, and then looked for the band members and got together, and then kind of went from there.
What were those sessions like? Was it just trial and error and just trying things?
Yeah, sort of like I kind of was writing different riffs and stuff like that, and then constructing them into songs through trial and error. But it wasn't that long of a period. It was just kind of
Okay,
working it out for myself, like because the kind of sound of the original stuff came pretty much from me
sure.
before I found the guys. So yeah, I was pretty set on what I wanted to do before I met the band.
But that's interesting then, because what compelled you to start composing songs, starting putting thoughts to paper? Was there something specific, or did you kind of gradually fall into that?
I just really enjoyed sort of playing guitar in my room as like a bedroom musician, really. But
Mm,
then obviously, just got excited by the idea of putting that into a band and recording them. I lived with my producer for a little while. So I started recording demos with him. And then obviously just like hearing the music back that I'd written on my guitar was just really exciting. So that's what kind of kicked it off, really.
were they very much in line with what the band makes now, or was it very different as well?
Well, the original stuff is what we did on the EP. So all
Okay,
those original
okay,
tracks were what I wrote. But well, quite a few of them, five or six of them, before I got into the band. Anyway, just on guitar. And then a few of them, like Metamorphosis and Miserable and stuff, were written like sort of for the band. But they were kind of like demos. They haven't really changed
okay.
since sort of like 4 years ago. They're quite old songs actually. The ones on the EP.
And so how do you look back at some of those early songs compared to, well, you're releasing an album now, so
I definitely like some of them. I think like I like all of them obviously, but Identify 93 and which one was it? Identify 93 and Revert pretty much have been the same for quite a while. I really like those tracks. I like all the EP tracks, but I think the new album's kind of gone a step further. The sound's kind of matured a little bit. You just kind of get better at it, I guess, as you keep going. So yeah, more hyped on the newer stuff, but yeah, some of the old tracks are definitely have some longevity for sure.
and then finally about this earlier period, what were your intentions? Maybe this is too contrived, but what were your intentions when you started the band? Did you always have visions of playing in a band? Do you have certain ambitions you want to fulfill within music? What kind of motivates you? What drives you?
Yeah, well, it's been the same from the start, really. I really want to kind of I want to get as big as we could possibly get and do music as a full-time career, do a band as a full-time career. I'm under no delusion how hard that is and how long that can take. But we want to be on massive tours with big bands. Like Bring Me the Horizon on a stadium tour right now. We want to do stuff like that. We want to get as big as possible. Have a massive fan base, dedicated fan base, make the best music we can make. And have a really successful career as a band. That's still the aim from day one.
Fair enough. So this is then the first. Obviously, you've released music before, and there have been a couple of at least one EP. So with this first kind of offering to the world, what do you hope people hear in it?
Um, I hope they kind of get like the kind of profile of sound, differentiating from kind of people call it like new metal or sounding like Deftones or Incubus and stuff like that. Hopefully, they get kind of a more distinction of the sound we're going for. It's a versatile album, like it's quite heavy. There's some lighter parts to it as well, but just gives you like a full picture of our writing ability. And we just want to kind of like step up every time we write. Super excited about this record, but obviously you learn each time you go on. So I'm excited to see what people think. You know, we've sat with it for a while, so I'm interested to see how it goes down with the fans.
Sure. And what was the starting point for this album? Was there a song? Was there because I imagine you write all the time, and so there has to be a moment where you think, okay, we're going to make an album at some point. So when did it become real that this debut album would eventually see the light of day?
Well, I guess we were signed when we started writing it, so we knew it would come out eventually. But it was kind of the COVID-19 lockdown gave me a lot of time to write. So that's when I started writing it. There's a few tracks on there which are slightly newer, but the majority of them were written in the midst of the sort of middle of the pandemic. So it's probably about kind of a year and a half, 2 years ago. A lot of them, some of them are a bit more recent. So yeah, we obviously got those down, went through them with the label and trimmed the fat, as it were. Made the songs the best they could be. And then obviously, yeah, when we put the studio where we recorded with the producer, that's when it kind of locked in. We knew it would happen. But even after that, like we recorded it, and there was a big trial of kind of mixing and going back and forth and mastering. So all this stuff takes quite a lot of time. So I'm still, you know, when it's actually out, I'll probably be like, okay, it's actually finished. It's a big project, so exciting that it's actually coming out in a few weeks.
Yeah, once you finally have the tangible copy in your hand, that's probably when it really sinks in.
Yeah, well, I've actually got it. They arrived today.
Okay.
I've got testers for us. There's more going to the label to ship out, but we got the physical vinyl today, so it's actually a real thing, which is cool.
Well, what was that like then to receive that in the mail and just hold that and see the name of the band and kind of everything that you've worked on the last couple of years?
Yeah, it's really cool. It is really cool. It's interesting. It's yeah, like because it's not out yet. It's nice having it. It's weird for sure having like the physical copy, but it's also yeah extremely satisfying. Like we're very proud to like
Yeah, that's
actually have it.
awesome. Um,
Yeah.
let's delve into the album a little bit deeper because well, at least to me, there seems to be somewhat of a through line. Is that what it's called in English? A through line through the album,
Yeah,
thematically at least.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
when did this become apparent to you in the songwriting process? And then obviously technology is something you think about and mental health and those kind of things. But when did it kind of become such a big part of the album?
I guess like kind of throughout the whole process. You know, there's stuff in there that talks about COVID, not specifically COVID, I guess, but like the mental health
Sure.
pandemic that came out of it. Like the state of the world that we live in now. It's kind of hard not to talk about it as a theme. I sort of don't want to talk about ex-girlfriends or like, you know, silly stuff like that. Not that it's silly, but like just kind of did a bit of that and felt it was nice to have some conceptual stuff in. There's like pop culture related in there, some philosophy, spirituality, things based on film like Donnie Darko and
Sure.
The Matrix as well, like films from that era from the 90s and 2000s, which like kind of heavily influenced it. But it's just kind of a natural way of me venting my thought process, I guess, that kind of
Okay.
helped conceptualize the album.
Is it fair to say, and this is just from the outside looking in, that you kind of have a love-hate relationship with technology?
Yeah, kind of. I think there's like there's a love-hate relationship with the type of world that we're in now, I guess, because
Sure,
obviously I
sure,
think technology or social media has definitely had a negative effect on life, I think, a bit. So's COVID. So I think yeah, there's a kind of heaviness to the world that we live in that is put through lyrically in the music. But yeah, I mean, I guess insofar as you look at like an old like Oasis or Metallica concert and everyone's just kind of like there, and now everyone's on their phones, and that's not necessarily bad. It's just kind of there is a kind of weird vibe to what's going on with people and phones and technology now. I think it's gone quite far. Maybe it's gone a bit too far, but I don't know what you do about that. Um, I just miss when that wasn't a thing, Doesn't can't even compute what it was like when you were a kid and you didn't have a phone. Seemed a lot less.
Well, what is your approach sonically then? Because we kind of talked about some of the influences and where they stem from, but um, as you mentioned, it's not a complete throwback to a certain era. So, what is the intention sonically, and how do you arrive at those? And I believe Joe was more of an integral part this time around as well, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, well, Joe's been integral since the beginning. I think he had less of an input initially on the writing because I was before we got fully into the flow of being in a band. I had a specific idea about what I wanted to write and maybe a little bit controlling over that. But yeah,
Sure.
Joe's a phenomenal bass player, and definitely massively enhances our sounds. He's completely integral, as is our drummer Brad. But he wasn't involved in writing until after the album. That's when he
Sure.
was brought in. Um, but yeah, I guess kind of like we love that era, as I said, like 90s and 2000s, like Hybrid Theory, Significant Other kind of era of like Limp Bizkit, Linkin Park. So we want something like really full sounding, new metal influenced, but our own sound with like strong songwriting element from all of our influences. Some people say they can hear like Oasis and Britpop. There is that for sure. Like obviously, that's what I was brought up on. So yeah, it's hard to explain. Like singer songwriting stuff that's heavy, big
Well,
riffs, just cool sounding music. I don't know.
It's interesting because you mentioned singer-songwriter because in one of the interviews you did previously, I think Ben Howard was mentioned as well, who's
Yeah.
obviously a singer-songwriter. So how does somebody like Ben Howard, who has this very, I would say, distinct style of music, how does something like that end up in the type of music that you make?
Um, I don't know if it's like necessarily thought about when writing, but like
Okay.
he sticks out because he's just like it's insanely authentic
Mm,
songwriter, super super talented. Like he's absolutely ridiculous, and also went against the grain of kind of pop. Like I think he kind of like blew up with his album, and then went like, no, I don't want to like go kind of Ed
right.
Sheeran way. I think was where he's being pushed, and he was like, nah. I don't know. I have such respect for him as an artist. I just think his music's so it's just so authentic and so him. And he's got like a beautiful voice and a beautiful way of writing. So that's definitely I just find that interesting. I think artists that are not kind of non-commercial, non-like radio friendly, if that makes sense. He probably is radio
Sure.
friendly, but like just like original and true to himself. There's so much respect for that guy. He's incredible.
But that's an interesting point because with the type of things that you talk about, there is some mental health and some, as you mentioned, kind of navigating through this modern world of ours. Um, is it, did it come easy to be open and honest about kind of the thoughts that you were having and kind of the struggles in life?
Yeah, 100%. Because I think like it's very helpful to like share those things. I'm sure Linkin Park helped a lot of people through dark times.
Sure.
North Lane's album Singularity really helped me. Adrian, the original vocalist, like his lyrics on that album are extremely influential and very helpful spiritually.
Hmm.
So I think uh, yeah, talking about those things can genuinely help people. And I also think that yeah, there's no reason to kind of hold back with how you're feeling about certain stuff. It's yeah, I think a lot of art can come from pain and come from kind of trying to fill a void that you can't fill, and that comes out in the music. And it's I think that a lot of best art comes out of being in a dark place. To be honest, maybe a lot of like nice commercial stuff comes out of being like all happy, but yeah, I don't want to say that it's negative, but we're just being real. Like I kind of wear my heart on my sleeve about what I'm writing about because yeah, I think I love life. I'm super happy, but it can also be super hard as well. So I think that's important to talk about.
When it comes to, well, what role do you think music can play in all of this then? Because music is one of those universal things that no matter what culture you're from, no matter it's one of those unifiers. I think. What role do you think music can play, and what do you see at the live shows that you play, and how do you see music kind of affecting people?
Yeah, 100%. Well, I do think music's like a good way for people to escape their escape their issues, and like live shows. There's a huge amount of positive energy, especially really in the metal scene. Like a metal festivals, everyone's just like it's just good energy. So yeah, I
Mm,
think I think like the heavier side of music can bring negative energy out of people and help people. So yeah, the live aspect for us is probably the most important thing like now going forward. To get out live and yeah, make people feel good in the crowd, and it's also a good way for us to vent as well.
mm.
I think for the three of us, like we're happiest when we're up on stage. None of us want to get like a proper job because it sucks. So we want to do music because it feels great, and that's what brings color to the world, and also we get to leave something behind as well. When we're not here in terms of like tangible music that stays. So
Sure.
yeah, it's a great career. Aside from any money aspect, it's a great career. For yeah, helping people, helping ourselves makes the world a better place, hopefully. Yeah, do you know what I mean? It's like better than like working for like a, I don't know, yeah, like a shitty government or something. Yeah,
I've been avoiding getting a real job for all my life. I just do talk with musicians, so that's I
that's great,
I
man. Yeah,
I
that's
I
fantastic.
I get completely where you're coming from. What is that experience live then? Are you very conscious on stage? Are you more in a flow state or something? And how do you experience those live shows?
Quite relaxed. I'd say like with I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so I think until it is at a point, it's pretty much there. Like we're trying to get it as good as it could possibly be. So in that side of things, it does feel like a job. So I'm not saying that it's not fun, but I think it'll be more fun for us when we're kind of when we're totally locked in, like in a live aspect, and we're playing a lot of shows. It's like doing the preparation work to get that live set to like okay,
Mm.
it's like spot on. And then you can kind of cut loose and then yeah, it's like a flow state. It's just and just enjoying the moment, enjoying the crowd interaction, enjoying the energy. Yeah.
Yeah, and I believe this year you're going on tour with Vended, if I'm not mistaken, and you're going to be visiting all kinds of countries in Europe and the UK. So what are your expectations about, yeah, being a touring musician and going on the road and doing that whole song and dance?
Yeah, well, I have no idea because we've never toured before. And we kind of jumped over a lot of hills really to get to be on a bus tour for that period of time. So
Mm.
incredibly grateful for the opportunity, excited. It'll probably be quite tough at times because you're on a bus for like 40 days or something crazy with like a bunch of guys in bunk beds. So it's probably going to be intense, and I like my alone time. So at times it will be difficult, but yeah, being able to go to different cities every single day and play music is yeah, like absolute dream come true. So I can't make an assessment until I do it, but I'm sure it'll be absolutely sick. I can't wait.
Last question, the album title, A Digital Nowhere, is that kind of in reference to what we already discussed a little bit, the state of
Yeah,
the world and our reliance on technology?
yeah, that's to do with a Terence McKenna theory
Okay.
of technology going into a technological singularity where we're like human beings keep creating technology quicker and quicker and quicker, and that at some
Mm.
point that's going to really reach a kind of endpoint, an event horizon where like what happens, maybe AI, maybe like a collapse of digital age or something like that, and like what that world would look like. So being in a digital nowhere, like if we kind of had a world without any technology, what would that be like? Potentially very healthy. I don't know. We'll see.
I
See what
think, well, it depends. If we grow up, I think without technology, we'd be fine. But if we all of a sudden now take away technology, it would be absolute chaos, I think.
Yeah, it would be chaos, but it would be interesting. I
Maybe for a
think.
couple of decades and then things settle down. I don't know.
Yeah. We'll see. It's just a theory, but I thought, yeah, it's cool. Cool concept for the album.
I find these kind of things very interesting to think about. And like you say, there are more than enough albums about breakups and everything. So these kinds of themes are very welcome to me, at least.
Yeah, cool, man.
Mike, may I thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's been good chatting to you. Cheers, dude.